Take a look at your screen right there. It's a dangerous trend that's happened at least half a dozen times in Florida so far just this year in 2024. The sheriff's office in the Florida Keys saying this package containing 16 bricks of suspected cocaine found on the beach by guests of the islands of Islamorada Resort. The package has since been turned over to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Now, there have been at least 5 other reported incidents of cocaine found on or near the Florida shores, again, so far this year. That includes earlier this month when Hurricane Debby washed 25 packages of cocaine onto a beach in the Florida Keys valued at more than $1 million. The big question a lot of people are asking, what is going on? How exactly is this happening? So to help kind of break it down, do want to bring in Brian Townsend, a former special agent with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, now the principal and founder of Eagle 6 Training. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us very early this morning. We appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good morning.
All right, so first off, I do want to ask, how exactly is this happening? Do we have a full picture of why and how?
Yeah, so we know that the drug traffickers are using maritime routes to transport drugs into the United States. So they use various vessels like boats, even submarines. And sometimes they encounter problems. Sometimes there's law enforcement. You know, they want to avoid, obviously, seizure and capture. Sometimes they have mechanical failures. Sometimes there's extreme weather. But there's reasons that might force them to jettison the drugs overboard, to throw the drugs in the water. And sometimes smugglers will actually do this intentionally. They put them in the water at predetermined locations, and other smugglers, other traffickers will pick them up later. Regardless of how they got in the water, though, it's not uncommon for these packages to get carried away by the ocean's currents and the tides and storms, especially like Hurricane Debby. They can be pretty unpredictable, pretty chaotic, and these drugs can often wash ashore miles from their original drop location.
And what you're looking at right there on your screen is an image that was provided by the sheriff's office there, Monroe County, Florida. That is, of course, the Florida Keys. Not really sure what's up with the dune buggy photo on it, but again, you can see the packaging there. As far as your experience with the DEA, did we see drugs like this washing up like this in the past? Is this something new, or is it something we've seen for quite a while?
Yeah, quite a while for sure. And I have seen this during my my time with DEA. I worked in areas, coastal areas, and we would occasionally get phone calls from usually local law enforcement who would be contacted by fishermen or beachgoers who would find these packages, and they'd call their local law enforcement, and we'd get the call and go from there. So it's not uncommon, and definitely not something new.
Is there anything that can really be done to prevent this from happening, from the drugs washing up on shore? I mean, do boats go around and look for this stuff before it does wash up?
Yeah, there's known smuggling routes, and obviously, law enforcement is aware of those, and we're doing, various things, enhanced maritime surveillance, more sophisticated radar and satellite tracking, more patrols, and, obviously we want to intercept these drugs before they're, whether they're thrown overboard or obviously, brought into the United States. So definitely not a new problem, and unfortunately, this probably will happen again and again.
What are some of the concerns when you talk about these drugs washing up? This situation involved them washing up pretty much right next to a resort. So it was the guests who actually came upon it and called authorities there. I would imagine at least part of the concern is really about who is finding these.
Yeah, absolutely. A public safety concern, right? I mean, kids or persons who don't know the potential dangers of the drugs. You might have people that find it that decide to keep them. And, whether they consume them themselves or whether they sell it. There's also an environmental concern, that they look at the packaging there, that's going to eventually end up, on our shores and potentially even hurt maritime life. So definitely a concern all the way around.
And in this case, we know that it was cocaine, but are we seeing other drugs as well? Have we seen other drugs besides cocaine?
We have, the marijuana, especially in the 70s and 80s, the Florida coast was notorious for marijuana and also cocaine smuggling. we've seen methamphetamine, heroin, even fentanyl. We know the Carte de Sinaloa, the CDS, and the cartel Jalisco New Generation, the CJNG. They're the two primary cartels for bringing fentanyl into the United States. And we know they use various smuggling routes to include our oceans. So any way to get drugs into the United States. So certainly a concern.
Is there any real way to trace where these drugs are originating, where they're coming from, who's responsible, or would that be, I guess, nearly impossible?
No, I mean we do our best. It's a challenge, obviously, for law enforcement, but we want to we want to analyze the drugs and the packaging. I mean, there's obviously something dune buggy there on this particular packaging, so we're definitely going to analyze that. And in some cases, we might have an informant or information or some type of criminal intelligence that leads us to the source. So we're going to do our best to track it down.
And does the dune buggy actually mean anything? Is it just a photo there, as far as you know?
I would believe it would mean something to the traffickers, whether it's the source of the drugs or who it's going to. There is definitely a meaning there.
And you kind of already touched on this, but do you see this trend continuing over the years, decades, maybe even getting worse and seeing more of this happen?
Yeah, unfortunately, the demand in the United States for drugs is too high, and the traffickers know this, and so yeah, absolutely, I definitely see this increasing. The methods to smuggle drugs are obviously more sophisticated, but the principles are the same. Get drugs into the United States any way possible, and they're going to continue to use our oceans to do that.
And I imagine it's kind of a learning experience for the DEA and other agencies each time that this happens, because you probably take a closer look at the locations where this is happening. The Florida Keys seems to be one of the main spots where this does keep occurring.
Yeah, absolutely. We're using all resources available to us, intelligence resources, technology resources. We want to obviously prevent these drugs from coming into the U.S. And when they do, unfortunately, we're going to do all we can to investigate and determine the source and go after them.
All right, Brian Townsend, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and help break all this down. Anything else that you want to add about any of this here before I let you go?
No, I appreciate your time. If someone hearing this or seeing this sees these drugs washed up on our shore, just call your local authorities and let us take care of it.
Do not keep them. That is the best advice.
Right.
All right. Thank you again for being here with us today.
Thank you.